Welcome, I'm Paul, this is Dave. You're watching my channel's weekly compendium, ending June 17th, 2024. Enjoy. Case file number 1667, written by Radicus Amicus, the Nordic Nexus of glitched machinery. I am from Finland, and that's also where these things I'm about to describe to you happened. This was some years ago, pre-smartphone GPS era. It was the end of summer and myself and two friends were on a camping trip way up in the north, in Lapland. The mosquito season was over, and the weather was cooling down in anticipation of the coming fall. The three of us had packed food and gear for a 10-day trek. The car we arrived in had been left at the parking lot of a visitor center. This happened within the premises of the Urho Kekkonen National Park, a 985 square mile stretch of wilderness near the Russian border. The terrain there varies greatly, from treeless and semi-mountainous to a dense forest of spruce and pine and dwarf birch. There are lots of swamps. Seeing reindeer is not uncommon, and some nights you might hear wolves in the distance. You can run into a bear or a wolverine in this place, but of course normally they avoid people. We mostly camped in a tent, but some nights we used shelters and simple huts, provided for travelers free of charge. The trip had lasted 5 days. We were at the furthest of any kind of civilization we were going to be. On that particular outing, truly in the middle of nowhere, there really is nothing there. There are no villages, towns, or industry. The place is a national park after all. Seeing other hikers happen from time to time. You'd see some people in the distance. Maybe very rarely would you come face to face with anyone. So in the middle of our trip, we were camped in a small clearing. Woodland extending around us for a considerable distance in all directions. It was already dark. We had eaten our evening meal, and all three of us were jammed in our only tent. It was a bit cramped, but we fit. We took turns carrying it during the hikes. We were just exchanging some jokes and crude humor in the dark, like guys in their 20s do. About to go to sleep in our sleeping bags. When we quieted down, we began to hear it, talking, and the sound of machinery. Given our location, this was profoundly weird. We camped in a tent because there were no huts nearby. Maybe there was another camp somewhere near us? We couldn't quite make out what was being said, but it was a human voice, no doubt about it. But nothing really could explain the sound of heavy machinery. It sounded like an excavator or a tank, something big, powerful, and really not too far away. Combined with the sound of talking, we thought, construction yard? But at that time of night, in an unpopulated, protected nature reserve? We got out of our tent. It was cold and pitch black. The campfire had some coals still glowing. We took out our flashlights. My two buddies have always been a lot braver than me. The sound was clearly coming from the north, maybe half a kilometer away. We thought the construction might be going on behind a small hill some distance away. We could see no lights or anything. We still could not make out what was being said. The speaking-like voice was monotonous, and it was impossible to even say what language was being used. Still, sounded a lot like a person speaking though. You may be aware of the sort of spooky phenomenon of hearing a human voice in static. Maybe you've used a blow dryer and been sure someone is talking. Turn it off and it was just something the brain tried to interpret from the steady hum. Maybe it was some sort of like that. It's hard to explain. The machinery-like sound continued, not loud, but you could sort of make out the powerful engine, at times accelerating, adding power, at times idle. My two friends resolved to go find out what was going on. We put our warm clothes back on, donned boots, and I sat next to the dying fire, adding some more wood to it. I would stay at camp while my buddies left to check out this mystery construction yard, in the middle of nowhere in the Lapland woods. So there I sat. The guys took out their maps, took a compass heading, and left, and I could hear them make their way through the forest, see the light from their flashlights. Then they were gone. The weird sounds continued, unaltered. They were gone 15 minutes, then maybe 30. Then the better part of an hour. It was odd, judging by the volume of the sound. They should have reached it, checked it out, and been back already. I added more firewood, and tried to make out what the person talking was saying, but it was too tiny and obscure. The guys had been away for over 2 hours. I figured they had stayed for coffee with the construction guys or something. Then the sound stopped, just like that. It just ended, all the same time. The engine sound and the voice both just quit. It was very silent. I waited for another 30 minutes, very worried now that something bad had happened. That maybe my friends were lost. Should I go and try to find them? I shouted their names several times and built the fire pretty big. I was scared crapless when suddenly I saw the flashlights of my friends. Apparently they were returning in a hurry. The guys got back to camp out of breath. They told me the following. They had followed the sound beyond the small ridge in the distance. There was nothing there, and it seemed like they were not getting any closer to the source of the sounds. They had to stop every now and then, be quiet, and listen to it to be able to walk towards it. They walked and stopped like this for some time, then realized they were not getting any closer. The sounds did not change in volume at all. They decided to go just a bit further, several times, when suddenly the sound just stopped, like someone pressed a button on a recording. They realized it had been going on for a long time. They were in the middle of the dark woods alone. They reversed their heading and started back at a brisk pace. Eventually, they saw my big fire from the top of a hill and found their way back. The weird thing is, we seem to think the sound stopped at a different time. They had been gone 2.5 hours in total. They said the sound stopped at around the 1 hour 15 minute mark after they left. They then started to head back immediately. The return trip taking a bit longer, even though they kept a good pace. They apparently wandered around a bit. For me, the sound stopped at the 2 hour mark, just 30 minutes before they returned. We did not sleep that night. Nothing more happened on that trip, and we never found out what the weird construction yard-like sound was about. We then returned to the park's visitor center some 5 days later. We asked around, but no one knew of any ongoing construction taking place in the whole national park area. Case file number 1668, written by Sushi Flowers. A voice from home heard across the world. When I was in high school, I went on a trip to Asia with a bunch of my classmates. One of the classmates who went with me on the trip was the son of my school librarian. I was very introverted in high school and loved to read. As a result, the librarian and I were good friends. Some context for the story for you all. When I was a freshman in high school, my dad ended it all. At that point in time for me, it was a very upsetting topic. This was something that I had confided in the librarian because she helped me calm down, or would let me hide in her office whenever I had a panic attack. While I was in Asia with my friends, we were getting off the subway when I heard her voice clear as day shout, "I love you, Sushi Flowers." My full name, not my online username. We were also in a country in Asia where English is not commonly spoken by many, so when I heard it I was taken aback. I turned back to her son, who was on the subway, and said, "Dude, I just heard your mom shout at me." And he was perplexed and said, "What? What did she say?" "Yeah, she said, 'I love you, Sushi Flowers.'" And he made a joke about how it was weird that she didn't say it to him, as he was her son. Later that night, we received news that one of my friends back at home had also ended his time on Earth. Due to the time difference and lack of internet, we didn't find out until later. I had a really bad breakdown on the trip, and when we returned for the funeral, the librarian hugged me as soon as she saw me. She told me she was in Colorado hiking in the mountains when they got the news, and that the first person she thought of was me, and she couldn't help but shout to the wind, "I love you, Sushi Flowers." Hearing her say that, my friend and I both were stunned into disbelief because he immediately remembered the joke he made on the subway. Case notes for file 1669, written by Elena Amazing Betch, The Extra Bedsheet Puzzle. I took my freshly washed bedding from the dryer to my bed to put fresh linens on my bed. I threw the wad of sheets on the bed. I stepped back from the bed and I tripped on a white fitted sheet behind me. I'm like, that's weird. I don't remember this fitted sheet falling out from the pile from my hands onto the floor. I go to the pile that's already on the bed, and there's a white fitted sheet in the pile already. It's in with all the other pillowcases and everything like I remembered. Nothing had fallen from my hands. So how did this extra white fitted sheet get onto the floor behind me? There's already a fitted sheet in with the pile of bedding. I never pulled any additional bedding out. The bedding went from wash to dry, then back to my room to go back on the mattress, and nothing additional was ever out. The fitted sheet from the dryer is on the bed, so where did this extra fitted sheet come from? I step back and it's just there, inexplicably. I'm freaked out. There was nothing on the floor of my room when I walked in to put the fresh linens on my bed. There is no reason an extra fitted sheet would be existing in my room. I only had one fitted sheet in my house. Extremely weirded out, and I have no idea how this happened or what is going on. Case file number 1670, written by Baskin Butcher, Extra Beats and a Missing Jeep. This happened a few years ago, around 2017 or 2018. I was driving down a road in the evening. The sun had mostly set, but it wasn't completely dark. Behind me, there was a very distinct Jeep, green with a unique paint job, with green LED highlights. We were on a rural highway, there were no turnoffs during this stretch of the road, and the car had been behind me for several minutes. On the radio was some Blink-182 song. I was in a cover band at the time. This was one of the songs that was in our set list. I was driving back from a practice, and I was trying to work through something in that song, so I knew it pretty intimately. Here's where I noticed the glitch. I've experienced this sensation twice in my life. This is one of them. The best I can describe it is if someone, hypothetically, grabbed the bottom of your spine and cracked it like a whip. The sensation travels up your spine and culminates in a pop right at the base of the skull on top of the spine. After the pop, my ears were ringing, faintly. I could still hear other noises for a solid 30 seconds. The pop occurred during an instrumental breakdown in the song. After the pop, I noticed an extra measure in the instrumental breakdown, an extra 4 beats. This was a song we had rehearsed hundreds of times. There's no way I simply was counting the beat wrong or something like that. I know the song very well. I look up in my rearview mirror. The Jeep is no longer behind me. This is a rural highway with nowhere that they could have turned off. Weird. I thought, but maybe they pulled over and I just didn't notice? Well, not 15 seconds later, I noticed oncoming headlights coming up around a bend in the road. And wouldn't you know it, green LED headlights. The car passes and sure enough, green Jeep with a very distinct paint job. There is no way that car could have gone from behind me to oncoming in that span of time. Case file number 1671, written by Anonymous. Beyond Area 51, where the world's geometry failed. When I was in the Air Force, I was at Area 51. Don't ask why I was there, and don't ask what I was doing. I will not tell you. But after I was done doing what I needed to do, I asked one of the guards what the weirdest thing he had ever experienced there was. He said, Bald Mountain. I asked him to elaborate. He said to take a particular road and see for yourself. So some fellow airmen and I took this challenge. We went up this road and went uphill. We stopped at this overlook and didn't see anything unusual or unordinary. It was getting dark, so we turned around disappointed. We went on the same road. We were still going uphill. It made no sense. But we shrugged it off after traveling on this road for 5 minutes. It brought us to the same overlook. We tried getting down again, only with the same results. We took the other road, still went uphill, and it brought us to the same overlook. At this point, we were still all questioning our sanity. We got out of the black SUV. We break out 2 different color trail markers, one neon pink, the other neon orange. We split up into 2 teams of 2, and we hiked these 2 roads marking the trail with our trail markers. We laid down the orange markers while they were placing pink markers. As we walked, we were going uphill. If you turned around, you went uphill. The land made no sense. It defied all logic. After about 20 minutes on this hike, we started to see their pink markers. This also just brought on further confusion. After about 10 more minutes, we arrived at the same overpass. The other group arrived 10 minutes later. They said they saw our orange markers. We never saw each other cross paths. We started to panic and wonder if we were ever going to get off this mountain. After trying to figure out what the hell was going on, we decided to try and call someone. None of our flip phones worked, no cell service. Compasses didn't help either, they would just spin. I thought we were in some episode of The Twilight Zone. We slept in the SUV, and when morning came, we tried going down the road we came. And to our surprise, we were going downhill. We get off the mountain and go back to the base. I found the guard. I just looked at him with this expression on my face, as if he could answer the 1,000 questions I had. He just said, "I know," and left. To this day, I still have no idea what happened. Case file number 1672, written by Haberdasher A. The Ghost of Mario. When I was about 15 years old, I went over to my cousin's house to play some video games. I had just got Super Mario Sunshine and had been playing it a lot, so I decided to bring my GameCube over with a few more games, just in case he wanted to play something else. So I hook everything up and start the game. We played for a few hours, but then I remembered I took the disc out the night before, so I went into my bag and checked the Super Mario Sunshine case. Sure enough, the disc is in there. However, the GameCube is still playing the game perfectly, so I open the disc tray, and as soon as I do, the screen glitches. The most terrifyingly loud screeching and beeping sound starts, coming from the speakers. I freak out and immediately unplug the GameCube. I tried turning it on again, but this time it actually said to insert a disc. My cousin and I were trying to explain what happened, saying the GameCube must have just glitched. But the creepiest thing was when I was getting ready to leave, my little cousin came home from preschool and she walked up to me and said, "Mario told me he doesn't like it when you take him out." Case file number 1673, written by Slaughter Dog, The Wedding of Light. In my teenage years, my family was invited to a wedding that was taking place at a private residence in the rolling Vineyard Hills in Oregon. It was far away from any sort of commercial buildings, and the residents were spaced out quite a bit. The driveway from the road to the house was over a quarter-mile long, and when we got there, someone by the road told us there was no more room at the property, but we could park on the side of the road, and they'd shuttle us up. Sometime that night, after some people had left, my dad and I walked down to get the car, so we could have it up there for when we wanted to go. About halfway down, I noticed a big misty ball of bright white light from one of the furthest hills visible. I thought it was a smokestack and told my dad to look. He actually didn't bother looking and just told me there was nothing out there for miles. I told him a few more times that I saw a smokestack, and finally he just looked and remarked, "Wow, maybe there is something out there." About a second later, it shot up and to the right before vanishing. We both thought that it was very weird and had no explanation for what it could have been. We bring the car back up no problem and stay a few more hours. On the drive back down, we were explaining what we saw to my mom and sister. As we approached the point where we saw it, I say, "And it was just about here." As soon as I said that, the dash chimes, the radio stops, and my dad says, "What the hell?" Every light on the dash had lit up, and a few seconds later, everything died. No motor, no interior or dash lights, no more headlights. We rolled until we stopped and the car would not do anything when we turned the key again. The only choice was to sit in the dark for 5 minutes, no one having a cell phone, and talk about how creepy that was. I kept an eye out for the light in the hills, but didn't see it again. Every minute we tried to get going again, and eventually it started up without a problem, and we went home. The car never had any issues again with it doing that. Hey, would you like early access to my weekly and monthly compilations? If so, you can join the channel here on YouTube for $10 a month, the Clairvoyant tier, or on Patreon. If you join on Patreon, there'll never be any ads on the videos, and you also get access to my uncut reactions to shows I've never seen before. Currently, the early access period will be 1 week ahead. For everyone that doesn't join, that's fine, nothing will change, everything will be on the same schedule, and everything will be free as always. Also as a benefit, if you do join on YouTube, currently there's no way to enable it for members to not receive ads in general, but what I can do is, during the early access period where only members can view it, I won't enable ads. So at least that'll be a benefit I can give. There's no way to set it where members don't get ads when the video is public, unfortunately. I wish there was a way to do that, but currently there isn't. YouTube is very slow to implement new benefits and stuff. But we'll see, maybe in the future that'll be possible. So if that interests you, go and check it out, and otherwise, I'll catch you later. Take care. Case file number 1674, written by Respect Remarkable 298. Disney or Universal, a memory reversal. I had never been to Universal before, but when I was planning our dual vacation to Disney and Universal, my kids kept asking me what rides were at Disney, because I had been there before, and I told them every single ride and every detail that I could remember. The Mummy, Men in Black, The Simpsons, you get the picture. Only to realize, not one of them are Disney rides. My explanation, well, maybe Disney used to own them? I know, stupid, but whatever gets me through the day. We go on our trip and go to Men in Black, and we are waiting in line, and I can tell my husband everything that's going to happen right before it's happening. It's like I remembered a script. Same thing is happening on all the other rides. However, it doesn't happen on the newer rides, ones such as Harry Potter and so on. I called my mom and asked her again while we were there if we had ever been there when we were kids, and again she told me no. I am 38 years old. I would have definitely remembered, but I keep asking if it feels wrong, and I feel like I'm being lied to. But I also know for a fact that I have never been to Universal, and I've never been on these rides prior, and I never watch videos. I hate having rides ruined with them. Case file number 1675, written by Teen on Panic Mode. Amanda's typing class glitch, mint to black. My school has a typing program where we need to learn how to type quickly on some kind of website. I forget what it's called, but I don't own a laptop. So I've been typing with my friend, I'll call her Amanda, on her old iPad and Bluetooth keyboard. Her favorite color is mint, so I wasn't surprised that she bought the mint one. It was nice to look at, and made a satisfying noise. And I distinctly remember thinking about how it was her favorite color, and that I might get one for myself. I even remember making a comment about how the color matched her favorite notebook and pencil. They're both mint too. I was gone for a week because I was sick, and when I came back and took typing class with Amanda, the keyboard was black. So I asked, "Hey Mandy, why'd you change your color? I thought the green was nice." "What? The like teal mint you had going on? I thought it was cute. Why'd you change it?" She just stared at me and said, "I don't know what you're talking about. It's always been black." I laughed because I thought she was joking, but she was dead serious. "Mandy, you're kidding." "No, I'm not. I bought a black keyboard. Are you alright, Pan?" I asked around, and everyone said it has always been black. Except for one person, I'll call him Randy. "Yo, Randy, was Amanda's keyboard always black?" "Yeah, I guess." "Really, I could have sworn it was mint." I was about to give up, but then he said, "Oh yeah, it was, wasn't it? Hey Mandy, when did you change the keys?" She, our classmates, hell, even the professor all said that they've always been black. I really don't get it. Did I skip timelines or some crap? Case file number 1676, written by Living for You 95. From Blue to Black, a glasses mystery unpacked. In 2018, I bought an all-blue frame glasses from Walmart. I love the color blue. I had blue Vans, a blue purse, as much blue as I could get, including my blue glasses. Then a couple years ago, I had a baby and started to think my blue glasses were kinda childish. So naturally, I stopped taking selfies in them, but I still wore them every day and everywhere. Got it? Good, okay. 2 days ago, I was driving home, looked in my rearview mirror and was shocked. My glasses are now black on the front, but the sides are still blue. Of course, I was like, what the hell? Did my husband prank me on April 1st, but I just noticed now? Texted my husband asking what color my glasses are. Blue and black. He also said he's not pranking me. Text my mom. Blue, why? I explained and she said, "That's funny, I thought they were all blue, and I've always thought you bought kid ones." Texting my mother-in-law. Blue, why? New ones are black. Text my best friend since middle school. It was 2017 or 2018 that you left your glasses at my apartment, and I know they were blue. We were with each other nearly every day for 2 years at one point. They were blue. My little sister also said that my old ones were all blue, but my new ones are black and blue. But I never got new ones. It was always my blue glasses. All of us, except my husband, have been looking through pictures to find my blue glasses, but they're all black and blue. I thought maybe they turn black over time. But there are absolutely no pictures of my blue glasses. The past pictures I see of myself on Instagram, Facebook, and even on my phone are all black and blue, but it looks strange to me. I've seen these pictures many times before. I know they were all blue. Everyone agrees, even my sister-in-law that I met only 2 years ago. Can someone help me? I feel crazy, but I know I'm not crazy. I just need to hear other people talk about this, and I want to know if everyone's experienced similar things. I'm not sure what I even think happened. Also, thinking about it, the inside of the glasses are also blue. So I think the fact that people say, old glasses blue, new glasses black and blue, makes my thinking even more valid, because these could be seen as blue with a glance. But people notice the change and say they're different. Does that make sense? I found another pair of glasses, but not all blue versions of them. Funnily enough, they're from a Nickelodeon Victorious collection. Women's glasses. I'm obviously not able to convince myself and everyone around me they've always been black and blue. It is what it is. I have another pair of glasses that I have never wore because I was so used to wearing the blue ones. They look nothing alike. So I'll be wearing those from now on. Maybe when the mind freak of it all settles, I'll explore some fun theories. For now, I'll just focus on the fact that my daughter's last day of school is tomorrow. And I have to find a way to keep a toddler and kid happy and entertained at the same time for 3 months. Case file number 1677, written by Chainsaw Fists. Time Loop Journey, a hiker's odyssey. In college, I frequented a trail in the Appalachian Mountains near my college. Each time I would trek further and further. I never saw anyone else on it, no matter how good the weather was, so I just saw it as my own personal trail. For a while, I would walk to a large stream and turn back since it was wide and deep, and I didn't want to get my boots soaking wet. One day, I was determined to cross the stream, so I moved several planks of sturdy dead tree to make a makeshift bridge. I crossed to the other side, and everything felt subtly different. The air was different, the sky was brighter, and surprisingly, the trail on the other side was better maintained than the part I had come from. As I kept walking, I noticed a lot of old soda cans lying around, the ones that are more perfectly cylindrical. Google old soda cans for reference, and wasn't seeing any of the modern looking soda can designs. I passed by an old cabin. It looked occupied, so I didn't bother investigating and went along my way. I kept walking until I got to a wider, deeper stream. I wouldn't be able to make a bridge across it. I turned around and headed back. I distinctly remember the sky turning overcast within a matter of minutes. I couldn't clearly see the sky since the trees blocked a lot of my view. I had just assumed a cloud had passed across the sun, but when I got a better look, the sky was completely different. It felt like I was walking along a completely different trail. This is the craziest part. I looked over to where the cabin had been, to find nothing but the remains of the cabin. All that was left was a stone chimney. I had walked by the cabin about an hour back, but there weren't any ashes, no smoke. There was a thick layer of fallen leaves and even some litter. Modern litter, like beer bottles and cans with modern logos. I was dumbfounded and explored the cabin's remains for a good hour until it started to drizzle. I walked back along the trail. The old soda cans were gone. I couldn't see the logs further down the stream. The rest of the trail was just as I had remembered it. I walked the last mile or so of the trail in darkness and rain, guided by my phone, which never could get reception up in the mountains. So that's my weird time-traveling story. I've made a point of wanting to go back to my college town, so I could revisit the trail and see what was on the other side of the second big stream. If anyone lives nearby, the coordinates to the trailhead are around 36.145-937-81.703719. You can park in the rest stop. Case file number 1678, written by Space Prince 4. The Mystery of the Changing Histology Plate. One of my classes this semester is Histology, which means I have lab periods where we look at and analyze plates of different human tissues. One day while doing so, I picked one up and noticed that it didn't look anything like to what the guide was saying. I was supposed to be looking at blood cells, small pink orbs. Yet mine was a straight black line with dentrals going off to the side. I vividly remember chuckling and saying to myself, "This one is just a straight line." I was confused, so I asked one of my professors to come over and look at it. He asked me which one it was. I told him it was a blood cells. I have no idea how, but when I looked it over while he focused on it, it changed. Now it was clearly blood cells, small pink orbs. Somehow, this plate changed both structure and tint in the blink of an eye. He didn't change the plate at all and was amused that I couldn't recognize the structure at first glance. I asked everyone in my group afterwards if they had seen that plate, but none of them had. None of the teachers had seen one by that description either. I really wish I had taken a picture of it before it changed, but all I have is a drawing I made from memory right after it happened. The closest thing I can think that it was reticular fibers, but even then, the cut itself was strange. Everything about it was strange. It felt like I saw something I wasn't meant to before the universe fixed it. Case file number 1679, written by Wieners. The Sudsy Time Warp. I have a story that is pretty creepy, at least for me. Back when I was in high school, me and a couple friends had just gotten back to my house from a party, and it was very late, around 2 a.m. As we were all about to go to sleep, I decided to take a quick shower because I had a lot of beer spilled all over my shirt by a drunk girl, and I also smelled like a pile of cigarette butts. I'm not the kind of guy to just hop in bed after a night of filthy debauchery, even if I'm super drunk. So as my buddies turned on Family Guy to watch as they fell asleep, I hopped into the shower. Normal shower cleaning commenced as planned, and because my friends are the kind of people that watch television obnoxiously loud, and the bathroom and shower being very close to the television, I could kinda hear the episode of Family Guy from inside the shower. So after taking what seemed like a 15-minute shower, with what sounded like the same episode of Family Guy slightly playing in the background, I hopped out and dried off. Upon exiting the windowless bathroom, I looked out into the room and realized it was now daytime. The clock read 10 a.m. Somehow, I had just gone 8 hours in the shower. What doesn't add up is that the water never got cold, and I never heard the Family Guy episode end, and most importantly, I know for a fact that I was only in that shower for 10 to 15 minutes. To this day, no one believes me, and we affectionately refer to the event as Shower Time Machine. Case on to file 1667. The Nordic Nexus of Glitched Machinery. So are there any trains that intersect into this national park, perhaps close to where you were? Sometimes loud sounds, can bounce off the atmosphere itself. So it kinda sounds like it's coming from everywhere. Maybe there's a discernible direction it's coming from, but it would be potentially very far away. Now, if there's no trains, I don't know. The voices also add to a strange mix there. You could say multiverse sight, but that is interesting given my theory on multiverse sight is it only intersects with universes that are very close to our own, almost right on top of each other. Now, maybe there's hundreds or thousands depending on the dimensional, configurations of the multiverse ocean, which are unknowable. But even if we assume that, that's not a lot of variation, thousands, even millions. Doesn't seem like it would lend itself to this national park being a construction site. So, I don't know, maybe it's not, maybe it's aliens actually. One of the few times that I'm pretty confident saying that's a strong possibility. It would also explain why the voices heard didn't sound quite right. Maybe the language spoken is not one of our own. Of course, it doesn't really explain what they're doing there. Are they mining for resources in a distant place where they'd presume no humans would be? I mean, that's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. If aliens are here, they had to travel so far to get here, well, that takes a long time. And unless they're in the Star Trek level utopia where they can produce things from thin air just from energy, matter energy converter, outside of that level of technology, they would still need resources from various planets. They could maybe get it from asteroids, maybe there's some things on Earth that they can't get anywhere else in the solar system. And this is also assuming they don't have extremely faster than light travel, which, to my understanding, just doesn't work. Because if you go faster than light, you're also going faster than time itself. You could go back in time and nothing would really make sense. Because every frame of reference has its own time clock. There's no universal time, which I won't go far into because it's just mind-blowing and insane. Assuming they're limited to the speed of light, which is a strong assumption. Even in our own solar system, gathering resources would take time. So that is a possibility. They might just be here like a cosmic gas station, trying to gather some resources to continue their journey. Or just to stay in orbit and observe us. Now time for the quote of the day. I had an experience. I can't prove it. I can't even explain it. But everything that I know as a human being, everything that I am, tells me that it was real. I was given something wonderful, something that changed me forever, a vision of the universe that tells us undeniably how tiny and insignificant and how rare and precious we all are. A vision that tells us that we belong to something that is greater than ourselves, that we are not, that none of us are alone. Dr. Ellie Arroway, Contact. Boy, I do love that movie, and quotes like this are why. You get so much revelation into the inside of what it is to be a human being. Now, we don't know for sure that aliens exist, but assuming they do, it's not just about the size of the universe anymore. You can already feel small or insignificant in that context. But if there are aliens out there that are millions of years ahead of us, it's hard not to feel small compared to that. Not just in size, but in intellect and knowledge, in power and mastery over the universe itself. That would excite me, because it's not really about being a god. It's not, I'm not alive to be the best person in the universe or the best living entity. It would be fun to be a superhero, but that's not really the human experience, is it? We are small and contained, but within that containment have so much potential to learn and experience this universe that is just open and practically infinite, if not actually infinite. And the possibility of making first contact with an alien species. You know, I really hope it isn't the case that aliens are here, but they've only contacted our governments. The governments are fearful that people would panic, so they don't make that known to all of humanity. It's like in the movie Arrival, where the aliens just show up in ships that you can't hide that from people, so everyone knows. And then people riot and panic, and the Dow Jones drops 20,000 points or something like, you know. Would we react that way? Maybe. Sadly. But I like to think that we wouldn't. At least enough people wouldn't. That we could stabilize in time. So it would be worth the pain of knowing. Okay, Sensor File 1668. A voice from home, heard across the world. This to me just lends to the simple theory of simulation, where our voices, our thoughts, our feelings, everything about us can be translated, to some extent after the fact, into data. This librarian that you knew, your friend, shouted to the wind, experience some powerful emotion that had to be relayed to you. Now, who was it in the control room of this game that we're all playing that saw this and said, okay, yeah, this information has to be relayed to this kid or teenager that will be troubled when they learn this and other information about their friend. Maybe that was a verbal shield for you to guard against doing something yourself that would, be permanent. I like to think it was sort of a guardian angel action. Even though it was just your real-life friend helping you, it was enabled by someone from up above, in a certain sense. Maybe just a dude working, 9 to 5 in the real world, who knows? Why can't that be a guardian angel? We can be guardian angels for ourselves. It doesn't have to be mystical. To me, that is even more profound. Okay, Sensor File 1669. The extra bedsheet puzzle. So this is the opposite of normal for me. I never lose socks in the washer and dryer, as most people do. But I do lose tennis balls. But I also never gain anything either. I've never gained a duplicated item before that I can recall. Or did I gain change? Well, that's the assumption, but maybe it was just random change, who knows. But to the glitch, it's just a duplication event, which is pretty common, or common as far as these stories go. It still doesn't happen very often to most people. Plenty of people go their whole lives never knowingly experiencing a glitch like this, even though they're the more common of glitch types. But in a nutshell, the multiverse is plenty, and universes borrow and steal from each other all the time. It's not clear why the specific items are chosen, or if they're just random, but that's pretty much what happens. I'm pretty confident in saying that. Just multiverse shenanigans. Okay, Sensor File 1670. Extra beats and a missing Jeep. Mentioning Blink 182. I was never into that band, but I was more of a Simple Plan guy. I remember blasting Perfect and I'd Do Anything, and No One Knows What It's Like, if that was the title of the song. The guy was sitting at the top of a bridge, ranting about how his life was miserable and no one understands him. Very relatable to teenage me. But I mean, I suppose that's the case for everyone, right? Pretty much. Going back to listen to those songs from the early 2000s, man, it's a blast from the past. You have Paramore, Hilary Duff, I'm not great with remembering names, but Breaking Benjamin or something like that, I think, yeah. I don't really listen to much music nowadays, more like classical pieces, music pieces, stuff like that, not with vocals. But it still connects you, music is that connection to the past that is almost like a time machine, at least emotionally. Now, for you though, I'm thinking quantum immortality is the best explanation, because the beats in the song changed. 4 extra beats, and as you say, you listen and construct this song yourself hundreds of times. So you wouldn't just forget 4 beats, it's impossible. And I don't think it can be a space-time portal, because you're still on the correct road. It's the other Jeep that was on the opposite road. So even if they intersected as space-time portal and were on the opposite road, the 4 beats wouldn't be there. So the only thing that can explain that is quantum immortality in a universe where the Jeep was still there, but going in the opposite direction for whatever reason. Strange, but pretty explainable. Now time for the joke of the day. A duck walks into a store and asks the clerk, "Do you sell grapes?" The clerk says, "No, we don't sell grapes." The duck leaves. The next day, the same duck walks into a store and asks the clerk, "Do you sell grapes?" The clerk says, "No, we don't sell grapes." The duck leaves. The following day, the same duck walks into the same store and asks, "Do you sell grapes?" The clerk says, "No, I've told you the last couple of days that we don't sell grapes." The duck leaves. The next day, the duck comes by again and says, "Do you sell grapes?" The clerk angrily says, "Look, I've told you all week that we don't sell grapes. If you come in here again and ask if we sell grapes, I'm going to nail your feet to the floor." The duck leaves. The duck comes in again the next day and says to the clerk, "Do you have any nails?" The clerk says, "No, we don't have any nails." The duck says, "Do you have any grapes?" Because the threat was not real. He has no nails to nail his feet. That's great. I love it. I love simple setups that pay off. Case notes file 1671. Beyond Area 51, where the world's geometry failed. This sounds like Penrose Stairs. Similar to how it was demonstrated in Inception, but not being in a dream in a real world. This was demonstrated to you through a spherical volume of space-time where the gradient was always up, always elevated. Now this doesn't make any sense to us in our 4D space-time, but if you add extra dimensions, then all kinds of wacky geometry from our perspective will be available. So was this an experiment by the military or aliens? Again, they could be either. It could even be that aliens are assisting our own military with knowledge and technology. And we're just testing it out, trying to figure out how the hell this works and what can we do with it. That all said, I kind of want to visit Bald Mountain now, even though it sounds terrifying being trapped in this place that has no proper vector out. It would be interesting, there's no doubt about that. Case notes for 1672, The Ghost of Mario. This just sounds like a horror story to me with the ending, jeez, I mean... Also kind of reminds me of a specific Gravity Falls episode, minus the crazy girl, digital girl. Anyways, I think that would probably be better than a villainous digital Mario that never wants you to remove the disc. I don't know what to make of that, honestly. Is it an actual spirit that was making itself appear like it was Mario? How could it infuse itself into the GameCube with the data necessary to continue the game? I don't know. That's another level that I've never heard of before. Wild. Case notes file 1673, The Wedding of Light. Boy, so many glitches this week that could be related to aliens or the government. Both could fit pretty well. One way or another, there was some kind of technology being tested there or operated, if it's just aliens in a normal ship, but it leaves a residual energy that disrupts our electronics because they function on unshielded circuit boards and other things like that where variations in the EM field can disrupt that. Kind of like an EMP blast, but not to such a level that it completely destroys the circuitry. It might even be that the craft was still there, but cloaked. Now time for the joke of the day. Two men are out hunting, and one accidentally shoots the other. In a panic, he calls 911. "I just accidentally shot my friend. I think he's dead. What do I do?" The operator replies, "Okay, just remain calm. First, go to your friend and make sure he's dead." After a moment of silence, a loud shot rings out. The man says, "Okay, I'm sure he's dead. Now what?" The operator did not choose their words properly. That sucks. Case notes in file 1674. Disney or Universal? A memory reversal. Is it a script? Not quite. I do believe that we have past lives, past incarnations or play sessions in this grand scope of the universe. It's replay theory. We can go back to different points and start over or just examine things we already did. I think we can also go back in time and start from replay. If there's moments you wanted to revisit, things you wanted to do maybe slightly differently, there's infinite permutations essentially of our lives. And we can go and examine our choices that we made in those moments, or we can go back and play them again. Regardless of if you went back to play it again or just examine it, those memories are still there. They're embedded in your soul. I like to think of it as a tether to the real world. And this tether has all the encoded information about us, including lives where, you could say from the past, but really it's just other sessions. But sometimes the suppression effect, because obviously most people don't remember anything of those encounters, it's not perfect. Sometimes it's multiverse sight, but multiverse sight might be in general simply remembering things you already did or saw, because the suppression effect is not perfect. Case notes for file 1675. Amanda's typing class glitch, mint to black. Okay, so a coordinated prank, we'll keep that in the back pocket as a possibility. sometimes you just can't deny that is a possibility. And yeah, a bunch of the class and the professor would have to be in on it, but that is certainly possible, conceivable. But similar to the last story, on a smaller scale, I'll just attribute this a new word, let's say multiverse confusion. So that is, if it's multiverse sight, remembering a past memory, improperly suppressed memories, if it's quantum immortality, hard to say on any of those, but they all kind of bundle together in terms of the effect of the glitch as we perceive it, where it's sort of like a Mandela effect. You remember something being a certain way and then it's just not, it's different. And this is an effect that all comes from participating in this grand cosmic ocean of the multiverse simulation grand game. And it might just be that they're all overlapping in some extra-dimensional sense that we can't even conceive of. Case answer file 1676. From Blue to Black, a glasses mystery unpacked. So did the glasses change, or is it just a memory? You did find a second pair, where you said you never bought another one, so it's more than just a memory. But then the memory is wrong, and then you have pictures to confirm it, but people also remember it differently. So it doesn't quite fit quantum immortality. Because in the new universe, people would remember it being blue, and there'd be pictures to corroborate that. But some people remembered blue, some people don't. And then the pictures say that it was always black and blue. So everyone is confused in this, and that makes it hard to pinpoint. If you go ask your friend about some item of clothing you had, like my beanie, some of my friends might say, well, it was always black. Maybe it was blue and black or gray streaks in it. People might not remember just because their own memories are faulty. So it might just be a new universe. But the extra pair of glasses, maybe you did buy another pair in this new universe. But I don't think it can be multiverse switcheroo because the pictures confirm there were no pictures of you with those blue glasses, so it must be a different universe. Now time for the quote of the day. Rick O'Connell. Rescue the damsel in distress, kill the bad guy, save the world. From the Mummy movie. A great classic. And it just has that archetype that everyone should love. The hero archetype for a man. To charge in against untold odds and somehow emerge victorious. But although you don't even have to emerge victorious, the male archetype is just to have the will and the spirit to go in against all odds because you need to save the world. Well, maybe for most men it's just saving the damsel in distress, their loved one, their children even, or even just strangers. That's an archetype taken to an extreme. Risk their own lives to save people. You see it all the time. People jumping in to save people drowning or save people trapped in a car that's submerged or in a river. A lot of it comes down to water, I guess. But yeah, the warrior guardian spirit. You gotta love it. You still see it in movies sometimes, but not as much as in the past. Shame. Case answer file 1677. The Time Loop Journey, a hiker's Odyssey. Isn't it curious how the catalyst for traveling in the past, so-called, was crossing a bridge? It's like the bridge to Terabithia, but the bridge I think was real. I think the act of crossing was a subconscious trigger for you, and your mind, your soul went into the past, and saw things as it was over there, maybe in a different universe's past, but that's not too relevant. All that really matters is, I think, for you, if someone had come across you in that moment, in the real present time, they probably would have just seen you there, almost like in a coma or seizure. It's actually almost like the scene in Stranger Things where, I think it was Chrissy, her name? She has a moment where she's in a vision of sorts. But then some other guy comes across her and she's just, her eyes are rolled back and she's not there. Her spirit is somewhere else. And that's where we are here. I think your spirit was on a grand journey across the river of time. Case answer file 1678. The Mystery of the Changing Histology Plate. Okay, so this vision, essentially, that you saw, something that wasn't there, but that you did see, reticular fibers, they are the highway for immune cells. So does this vision of seeing something that looks like reticular fibers in a petri dish, does that mean that you're going to face some sort of health concern in the future? Is it a warning against taking better care of yourself to boost your immune system? That might be a stretch, but it seems like it wouldn't be random. Maybe a guardian angel event where they made you see something to help you down the road? Case answer file 1679. The Sudsy Time Warp. Given the hot water never ran out, and the Family Guy episode was playing the same as normal, never repeating or going to a different one, whatever happened to you, if this was a time event, it happened after you exited the shower. Now, I don't think it could be a space-time portal. That seems so random and specific. Maybe we shouldn't discount that. On the other hand, maybe you just fell asleep. But thinking about it, I mean, if you were so tired or wasted that you just passed out, it seems like you would have fallen down and damaged your body in some way, maybe hit your head. Is it just a space-time vortex, space-time portal that randomly appeared in your bathroom? Very uncommon, if that's the case. Or is it just a case of being very tired? I've never been that tired where I just lose memory, sort of. I have fallen asleep where, where you're so tired, you go to lie down in your bed, you almost blink, and then you're already awake 8 hours past. Being that tired is something else. I mean, there's only those two options as far as I can see it. A space-time portal, or you just fell asleep. And now time for the quote of the day. Dr. Weir. The ship doesn't really go faster than light. What it does is create a dimensional gateway that allows it to jump instantaneously from one point in the universe to another, light years away. From the movie Event Horizon. So imagine having that technology. I've been thinking about this a lot because I'm a sci-fi nerd. I mean, there's almost certainly another level or dimensional realm that transcends this universe. The common analogy is you have a piece of paper, you fold it in half, and then you punch a hole through it, and that's a wormhole. The space between the pages is this membrane that is called a wormhole, but what is it really? It's traveling to a higher dimensional realm where the physical vectors are more constrained. So you might travel 10 kilometers there, and that translates to 10 light years out here in the real world, our dimensional realm. But because time is woven into the fabric of space-time, if you do that, you can essentially travel to the future or to the past, which can cause a lot of problems. It's so annoying that time is not universal. I really wish it was, because traveling faster than light probably is impossible. Although, maybe, even if we can't travel faster than light, wormholes could still be extremely good. Maybe they are limited in range to prevent us from traveling faster than light, but would still use less energy to do it. So it could still be functionally useful, potentially. Same with warp drives and stuff like that. I don't know, we'll see. I really hope so. There was a news article apparently where warp drives are theoretically possible without needing negative energy, which is how they were theorized before, which that doesn't exist as far as we know. So technically possible, but with stuff that doesn't exist. So not really. But if you can, through extreme geometry, create a warp field without this negative energy, maybe that is a way to just use electricity, like a atomic reactor in a ship. And then with that, you have almost unlimited energy. Even though you can't go faster than light, you could still go pretty fast. I mean, right now, we can't even go 0.1% the speed of light with our chemical rockets. So if you could bump that up to 10%, 50%, that is massive. And with that, that's enough to go visit neighboring solar systems within our own lifetimes. If we do travel through a wormhole, I hope it's not in the Geller realm, which is basically hell, in Event Horizon or Warhammer 40k, which I think is just a prequel. Event Horizon being the prequel to 40k. Okay, too much of a ramble. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.